Hello, hello, and welcome to the Bearing It All podcast. I am Kate Ginsberg. I am so excited to introduce you to the fantastic and engaging Michelle Savage. Michelle is an international best-selling author, keynote speaker, and the founder of Sulit Press, a boutique publishing house in Austin, dedicated to elevating the voices of women entrepreneurs, executives, and creatives. Michelle, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to chat with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to launch Sulit.
Well, hello, Kate. Thank you for having me. What led me to launch Sulit? There's kind of two versions of this. I know, 'cause no, I didn't grow up going, I'm going to open a publishing house. I did as a little kid think, I'm going to be a famous author and among other things that yeah, we're not dead yet. We'll see. So there were two pieces that played into Sulit. There's the very practical side and the very woo-woo side. And the practical side, I was already working with authors to help them write and publish their books. And then because I had a content background or content generation background, I would help them to do the marketing and the launch of their books. And so then I would help them be a liaison between the author and their publisher. But more often than not, I was not really thrilled with the services they were receiving from their publishers in the hybrid publishing world, which, if you know anything about hybrid publishing, it can be a little wild westy out there. So you really have to do your research before you sign on with one. But what happened was they would have a great sales team member, have them sign this very professional looking contract, and then they basically became a number in what felt like a book mill. And I was just heartbroken for them because I had a close relationship with all of my authors. It was I would just feel honored to get to be on this journey with them and help them share their story and put it out. And I was aghast, truly like, oh, how can this be? And so we're tracking down services and all of that. So something in my brain was like, I can do this better, even if I don't know what I'm doing. And I went down the rabbit hole that it was just a learning rabbit hole where I absorbed everything I possibly could. But then when we got started, I brought on consultants to make sure that we did it really, really well. And that I never was going to have someone say yes to working with me and then feel like a number or be looking for their services. So that's the more like logical, reasonable sounding thing, which is also true. I'm not lying here. It's a true piece of it. But the other piece of it is that at the time, I had a pretty successful business before I said I'm going to, do this next phase of it. I was a freelancer, but I had ongoing retainer clients I was writing for, helping a lot of different authors with, the editing and the launching of their stuff. But I was working with other small businesses on their content, brand voice, and all of that. And so I sat down on my little meditation cushion one morning and I said, all right, you up there, I have a hunch that you're ready for me to do something else, because there was just this feeling where I'm like, I know there's something more required of me. And I know that I just don't know what it is. I couldn't quite put my finger on the direction to go. And I just show me what you've got. Show me what is my next best step. And it really was this like open a publishing house sense in my brain. And instantly I was like, no, that sounds hard. I don't want to.
Like a lot of work.
Yeah. Because one thing I love about freelancing is you only have to manage yourself. There's no team members. You're not worried about payroll. There's not a lot of moving parts in what I was doing before, and there are a lot of moving parts in publishing. And then I just stopped and I said, oh, hold on, I did just ask. And so, yeah. But it did. It made so much sense when I really sat down and went, oh, right. And so I mapped out a plan, and it just all fell into place. And as soon as I actually said yes to it and went ahead and took the steps, along the way, I kept meeting people who were there to help me out. They're a lot, they knew what I didn't, and I brought them on as team members or as consultants. And from there, we were able to build out our publishing program into what it is today. So it wasn't like I graduated from school and went right into this. It was I put things together like, yeah. I feel like my life and my business is sort of like a menagerie of found objects, but they've been carefully curated over time.
I have like a real hardcore like magpie or crow brain where it's just like collecting all of these shiny objects and like they all come together in a really cool way, but it feels a little weird
But
from
that
time
just
to time.
means you're just following what lights you up. That's so many people are like, I can't pick that shiny thing up. It doesn't match the other shiny
The other
things that I
shiny
have
thing,
in my
right?
satchel. Like, let's throw it in there. We might use
Let's
it
see what
later.
happens.
Yeah.
That
Can
might
always
be
edit.
useful. It's
Yeah.
fine. Well, and even if it's just a pretty shiny thing for a little while, that's still a
Hmm.
pretty shiny thing in your life. Like
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
I have no qualms about following joy.
No, it's the best really when you just get to kind of move through life and pick up the pieces that serve you and like you said, light you up and then
Mhm.
let the rest of it go. Like people get trapped on life paths sometimes where they're doing what they've been told is the right thing, but not the right thing for them.
I am a huge
And
proponent of lighting the match and starting over in large ways and small at any moment. And I think that we often forget that just because you've checked a box doesn't mean you can't uncheck it. That doesn't mean you can't totally reroute and be like, wait, hold on. How do I feel about this? Because at the end of the day, who cares what things look like from the outside world? Is how does it make you feel inside when you get up in the morning? And so if you're for me, I use the feeling, the pleasure, the shiny object sort of as that guiding thing of, well, does this still get to stay? And it doesn't mean every day I like every aspect. Like, I gotta
no,
pay
sometimes
taxes and
sometimes it's hard.
some days it's real hard.
Those are the days you call up your entrepreneurial friends and you're like, I'm going to burn this to the ground. And they're like, maybe wait a day and see how you feel about it tomorrow. And you're like,
Sleep
all
on
right,
that,
well,
would you?
just a little bit. Like,
Yeah, you're so right. Having other friends who are entrepreneurs makes all the
oh,
difference. Yeah.
it's a game changer to have entrepreneurial friends, especially like a mix of people that are further along than you are that can kind of guide your path. And then coming up behind you so that you can do the same in turn. And they all like it doesn't matter if they've been in business for 2 years or 20, like there's something that they can teach you about running a business or just a new perspective that you're like, oh, completely different industry, but I never thought about it that way. Or sometimes you're just too close to the problem and you need somebody from the outside to go, but this thing, and you're like, oh right, that thing. I forgot I have that thing in my satchel of shiny objects and
No
I could
kidding.
really use that. So
It's sometimes hard to give yourself credit for what you actually know and you've accomplished, or at least it is for me. I'm like, go, 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 constantly waking up in the night going, how can I do this better? How can I do that better? How can I, on everything. It's a eternal question.
it's constant
Yeah.
development and being willing to learn. Like
Hmm.
I remember as a kid thinking I'm so excited to be done learning and like out don't spit out your water, your computer's there. But like
Taking a sip when you said that made me
it,
giggle.
sorry. Again, the most unhinged business podcast ever, but it's fun. But just like thinking I'm so excited to not have to read because I have to, and like getting to do stuff for the joy of doing stuff and not because I'm being told you have to learn this because you're going to need to know how to do this someday. Like, and then realizing I really like to learn, but I like to learn in ways that are not friendly to the classroom. And
Oh,
so,
yeah,
like
absolutely.
it's still learning every single day, just in very, very different ways than
It never stops.
15, 20 years ago. Yeah, it's what a wild ride we're on.
That's what I think I love about it though, is
Yeah,
it's always dynamic. It's never boring. And even if nothing else changed in technology and different platforms, which it always is changing and
mhm.
evolving, and the market is changing, the world is all of that.
The world,
Even if it were exactly the same as it is now, there's still so much I don't know. I could
yeah,
continually learn what there is now. So it does feel, it doesn't really feel overwhelming to me. It just feels inspiring that there's
right.
always new things to grab onto.
And new people and new experiences, and there's just like there's so much out there and so many ways to access information and learn about different things, and like it's great. I kind of dig it.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
Are you ready to pick a question?
Oh, yeah, I get to pick. How many cards are there?
There are 10, so you get to pick 1 through 10.
I'm feeling number 4 today, which surprises me. I'm usually a number 7, so we'll see.
Oh, we'll see. Oh, it's a long question.
Uh-oh.
Oh, but I think this is going to be a good one. I have a feeling you've guided a lot of women through a similar vibe.
But no
What
pressure.
role, are you ready?
Yeah.
So exciting. What role has vulnerability played in your journey as an entrepreneur? Have there been moments when it felt necessary to show your human side to your team or customers?
Oh, only every single day.
All the time.
All the time. I think one of the things that I'm such a huge proponent on and was the foundation for our very first book in entrepreneurship is showing up both as the polished professional and a work in progress at the same time. And so I know that 2.5 years in, I'm damn good at what I do. And I just started a podcast and didn't know what I was doing. So we've now recorded 4 whole episodes.
Yay.
And there was that like, hey guys, I'm figuring this out. I hope it works out okay feeling and being honest about it and saying, I know 10 years from now, I'm going to look back or 20 episodes, I'm going to look back on the first season and go, ugh, and cringe and be like, oh, I could have done that so differently. I could have asked this person a different interview question, or, oh, I cut them off. I'm just still learning how to do everything in a way that I feel very confident about in that arena. So I think it's important to be able to be both, to say, I know I'm good at this and the other piece of it. But also, I went through a divorce last year, and a lot of people in my world, in my business networking groups, knew about it. Not that I was wearing it all over the place, but I wasn't my normal self for a couple of weeks there. And it was so nice to know that I was in community with other women who were like, we've got you. Come to this event. Just put on some clothes and sit here and
don't forget your big sash that they give you that says divorcee.
Mine says ×2. I'm a professional now. Not to brag, but
sometimes it takes a couple of tries.
Well, this is so fun. Side note, and I'll get back to answering the rest of the question, but
I love it.
When I went last year to submit the paperwork to file for divorce, I went to the building where I had filed the first time. And I walk in and there's a security guard at the entrance. And he said, what are you here for? I said, I'm here to file my divorce paperwork. He said, actually, that building is moved. It's now up 4 blocks and over 1, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. It's only my second one. I'll get it better next time.
Okay, but these are the jokes that carry us through.
I thought it was so funny. And he looked at me like, woman, what is wrong with you? Why are you making a joke right now? But I was... say, oh, it's only my second one, because it's such the wrong thing to say.
So, adjacent story that is also slightly goofy. We do the South by Southwest Community Day each year, and our first time we went was a couple of years ago. Heather, my business partner, and I, and we were just going around and we had cards with it. We did not have South by booth money, but we could go walk around and introduce ourselves. And at one table, I fumbled the cards, or I dropped stuff, and my response was, oh, sorry, this is my first day with human hands. And the people gave me the weirdest look, and I went,
that's how we connect with people, is through humor. I think the one I had to hold back from saying because I didn't want to get banned was that I was in the Lifetime locker room at the gym, and I was wearing a towel because I had just come out of the shower,
right, and
someone else was wearing their white towel, and I wanted to be like, oh my God, we wore the same outfit. How embarrassing. But then I thought, they don't know me, and I think I'm giggling because I think that's so funny. Like, oh, we wore the same outfit.
That's funny.
But then I have to hold back because not everyone's like you, Kate. Like, if I said that to you, we would be fast friends. I'd be like, you're my people. Yeah. But
it's how I know is I make a slightly inappropriate joke, and anyone who laughs, I'm like, okay, you're
one of us.
Yes.
But to get back to answering your question, she said I've probably helped other people through the vulnerability piece. Well, As you know, we do multi-author books where we coach women through the process of writing a single chapter to be published as part of a collective. But often the stories they're writing are really vulnerable, depending on the book topic. Some of them are much more so. But so last year we published a book called Pieces to Purpose, and dear Lord, it was just, you just get in and it's a safe space to be real with yourself, and you're processing something you've been through and you're putting on the page, and you're going to hit the publish button and it's going to go out into the world where other people are going to see this thing. And so I teach an entire session called How to Write About Hard Things Without Blowing Up Your Life. And we do a whole litmus
Very
test.
good.
Yeah, so the whole process is really vulnerable for everybody in there, because they're digging deep and they're challenging themselves to do something that's very public.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a vulnerable story, just the process of writing and publishing can feel vulnerable, because you're hoping, like, is this good enough? Does anyone care what I have to say? So all of those sort of imposter syndrome things come up,
Right.
even with very accomplished women. I mean, highly accomplished women. And
Anything that I've learned in 14 years, almost 15 years of being an entrepreneur, it's the women that I thought were so intimidating because they were so well put together. They are a hot mess in some ways, just like all of us.
all of us.
All of us.
Yeah. So I think that one of my favorite things is to sort of get to facilitate the shift and get to be the safe space guide. I feel honored to be able to say, all right, let me help you figure out how to share your story. Let me help you figure out what to say on stage when we're at an author panel. I mean, I had an author in our last big event. She was clutching to this little piece of paper that she knew what the questions were going to be on the panel before we got up there. And some of the authors are just really comfortable with public speaking, but she really wasn't. And so she said, I wrote my answers down, but I just can't remember what I'm going to say. Can I take this up there? And I was like, you can do whatever you want. She looks at me like, I can?
Yeah.
She goes, but can I read it? I said, yeah, it's your answer. What do you want? And once we got up there, she sat up straight, and when I got to her and I asked her question, she didn't look at the paper once, and she spoke from her heart with so much power. I got full body goosebumps, just going, yes, you're doing it. Because you see this transformation happen when somebody is willing to step into their own power and be vulnerable and do the thing that they're scared of anyway. They build more confidence from doing it. And I love getting to be part of that process. So yes, to answer your question, I think it's really important to show it vulnerably, and you can do that while still kicking ass.
Yeah. It's always fascinating. Like, you and I have very different industries, but we're working with people who, again, we see people who, like, life is out of control at home. Like, they might have it all together publicly because they feel like they have to. But home is the safe place to kind of fall apart, and, like, you don't have to let anybody in. Plain and simple. But there's so much shame, there's so much guilt, there's, in a lot of cases, trauma that they haven't processed, and they don't understand why their space is so chaotic and so hard for them. And we do a fair amount of, like, hand-holding through that process of, like, this is not a moral failing that you have a heap of laundry here.
Yeah.
Look at everything else that you're doing. Like, you're an amazing mom. You're running a business that's, like, growing exponentially. You're on panels and you're writing a book and you're doing all these incredible things. Like, of course your laundry is not the highest priority.
Amen.
And it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But people have that deep-seated guilt that if they're not doing it all on their own, they're somehow failing or falling behind. Right, perfectly. And so to be able to go in and model vulnerability is so powerful. And it's incredible to see that shift where people go, oh, I can ask for help. I can do this speaking panel, in a way, like, and it's okay. It's okay to have little guardrails and, like, your safety net. That's totally fine, and and we, once you get through that vulnerability and see the growth, it's incredible to watch women really fully step into who they are at this phase in their life. Most of my friends at this point, we're in our 40s, and we've got divorces and kids, and like so many friends have been diagnosed with ADHD, ADD, autism spectrum, and watching them undo kind of everything that they learned in childhood to suppress who they really are, and just fully step into, this is who I am and I'm unapologetic about it, is amazing. And that's one thing that I love about your books that you publish with these women, is guiding them through that process to really say, this is who I am, and I'm not just good with it, but like, I'm an incredible human, and this is part of my story. Like, I love everything about that whole process, and
Thank
watching
you.
it
You
happen.
said something so important with your business, is offering that support, because often when we look at someone else who looks like they have it all together, they're like, oh, wow, they're the best mom and they're the best dressed and their business is making the most, all these superlatives.
They probably never feed their kids cereal for dinner.
And like you said, as soon as you peel back the curtain just a little bit, not like I want people to be failing in any, it doesn't, but to say it's okay that not every aspect of your life is polished
Right.
to perfection. There are seasons for things. When I was raising 3 little kids, I was not thriving as a business owner. And that's not to say one can't, but I didn't have the kind of support. I was spread way too thin to have the bandwidth to do it all in the way that I can do it now that, kids are much older and, drive themselves around and things. It's a very different world, but it freed me up. And I know that there are lots of moms of young kids who are absolutely killing it, and that's amazing. Oh,
Oh, oh, oh. I think maybe we're freezing.
I was just,
Oh,
we lost a connection. We lost a connection there for a hot second. We went out.
can't wait to see how this makes it through. See, and again, this is why we don't do a polished podcast, is because like life happens, and
Life
sometimes the internet
happens.
gets a little weird, and that's
I
okay.
know. I don't know what astrologically is happening today, but maybe it's a stars thing. I don't really know how that works, but
Smiling about it, it's fine.
all that is to say, I also love what you do, going in to support women so that they can go do these other things in their lives and feel like they're not spread so thinly
Right.
that they don't have the bandwidth to even just be the moms they want to be, or the business owners that they want to be, or whatever they want to be.
The friend, the partner, like
Yeah.
it. There are just so many more important ways to spend your time than doing chores. If you, and whether that's you have a friend that you swap with, or you pay a service, or you've got a family member that can come over and help watch the kids while you take care of chores, or vice versa, it just, I think historically, the last, let's call it 70 years since the nuclear family really took hold and we moved away from intergenerational living in neighborhoods, you just like that ruthless independence has not served very many women well.
Yeah.
And especially where it's been traditional family settings, mom stays home, dad's the breadwinner, couple of kids, and then life shifts, because that's what life does, whether it's, an accident that causes a disability, whether it's divorce, whether it's, being widowed, like having to figure it all out again on the fly throws so many people for a loop. And how could it not? It's our first time as humans, and we're all just doing our best to figure it out. And like, as we got pulled away from that intergenerational living and like community, doing it all ourselves is exhausting. And I think of coming of age in the 90s and early 2000s, when it was the superwoman, you can have it all.
Oh, yeah.
Not if
You
you're
have to
doing it
do it
alone.
all and do it all the
Not
time
possible.
perfectly.
Like,
I mean, the funny thing is, as soon as women were quote unquote allowed to be entrepreneurs or, lead executives or leaders in their career, it didn't suddenly diminish their role at home. And so then
no.
they have the onus, the burden, the emotional burden that moms have always had or wives have always had, even if you don't have children. And you get to have all that and try to compete in your job. And so it backfired, right? Like right now there's a writing reflex that's happening, and I think that there's a much bigger conversation happening that's saving marriages and saving women's mental health. That where it's so much more normal for a man to take more responsibility at home. And it's also, I remember as a kid, the idea of people who had housekeepers, to me, I was like, oh, Richie Rich over there, like that was something that was just never heard of. Yeah, woo, all right. I only knew of
Right.
like maids and butlers for like the fanciest of
Woo.
people. I do not know what I would do without my housekeepers that come every other week and just knock down all the most important things so everything is sanitized and I can tidy the rest. But I mean, I just can't do it all. I cannot do it all. I have
No.
my lawn guy who comes every other week. And is it landscaping? No, but it makes things nice and tidy. And no neighbors have filed a formal complaint
No
against
one,
me.
no one has complained.
No one has complained. It looks
You
just
truly
fine.
are
Yeah.
living the dream.
But this is the whole thing too. Like tend to be sort of a hyper independent person, and so I'll take too many things on. And going back to like how you support other people, and that's what we do in our business too. Is this collaboration? I've really come to cherish collaborations more than anything because it used to be you had to write an entire book yourself, and then you had to figure out how to launch it yourself and market it yourself. And there were only limited ways to do this. And now these collaborative processes, you can do less work and have a much bigger impact in a supported community, and it's a whole lot more fun. But it's women who are bringing these programs about. It's women like you who are creating businesses to support homes and families that need the support. So I really think that collaboration and that shared weight of any burden, whether it's in any kind of business, it's a more streamlined process. It opens up bandwidth, but it also is so much more joyful to do things together. It's just easier for me.
Yeah, it really is when each person can kind of pick up a small part instead of one person trying to do it all poorly because there's not enough time or bandwidth. Like it magic happens, and it's incredible.
Did we talk about this? Did I ask you before about the book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell?
I have heard it. It's on my to listen list on Audible. I have a lengthy a lengthy
Yeah,
business
same
book
here.
list on there.
I just finished listening to it, and I actually really like the Audible version because in between the chapters, he adds extra
Oh, I love
commentary.
that.
But for someone like myself and others who are trying to build a business and scale it, I'm not trying, we are building and
Right.
scaling businesses. It helps me think differently about what is the way that I can be most effective. And you and your business, you help other people get to hang out and spend more time in their zone of genius or their zone of joy, at least. And I really loved that book because it made me start thinking more about where do I get caught up in the minutia? Where can I put something on someone else's plate where they do it better and faster, or maybe they do it only 80% as well, but gives
That
me
is fine.
but fine is done is better than perfect in certain cases, and you can pad for that and train for that and let go and then spend more time doing the things that make a bigger impact and feel more meaningful and purpose driven. And so I just was thinking about how even though we have completely different businesses, it serves the same purpose for our clients. And I just hope that more and more women feel comfortable to ask for help and to collaborate in all of the ways.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of work to undo that fiercely independent mindset. It took me until February of 2018. So it's been 7 years now. And the thing that finally broke me of the habit of I can do this all alone was Mike, my husband, had a stem cell transplant. And so he was inpatient for 3 weeks. And it was just me. We had a 15-month-old, nope, 14-month-old, and a 7-year-old. And I had a business that I was running. And all of a sudden, like, it was just me. And I finally went, you know what? It doesn't matter what form help comes in. Like, I just need help. Mm-hmm. And so I swapped the lock on our door to a keypad, and because I didn't need to have keys running around all over the place, but swapped to a keypad, and people could come and go, drop off a meal in the fridge. They could do a load of laundry if that's what they had time for. You know, they could pick up or drop off kids, like whatever needed to happen. And anytime somebody offered, I just said yes.
I'm going to go switch my door to a keypad right now.
I tell you, it was a game changer because I could unlock it remotely, and like, it didn't matter if I was here or not, people could stop by and take care of us in the ways that they were able to. And
but it is those hard moments in life that sometimes invites in the help, but it softens you. And it reminds us too, it's not just us that we feel loved when we get the help. Other people feel joy when they get to help us. It's a gift to them. We know if any one of our friends and someone we loved needed anything, we would find joy in helping them. We'd be, thank goodness I get to be there for you. There's actually something like chemical that's released called the helper's high. They've done all kinds of studies on the reciprocity.
Is that what I've been doing the last 14 years?
Yeah, your business is built on the helper's high. But when you do something kind for someone, it releases some chemical in the brain that makes you feel good. But the cool thing is, it's not only in the moment that it releases the chemical, it's when you remember doing the thing, it gets released again. And so when you spend your life doing kind things for other people, it's just really selfish. No, I'm kidding. No, it doesn't only benefit them.
Is if they ask for and receive help, it's selfish, and it's not.
Yes,
it's a radical form of self-care, and
absolutely
one that we work really hard with our clients to reinforce that idea. You're not being selfish by not doing the laundry. You are delegating that. And in that delegation, taking care of yourself by giving you a little more breathing room and space to think about more important things.
Yeah.
You know, like, especially when you're going through a huge life change, whether it's treatment for cancer or a loss in the family, or even something joyful like a new baby. It's still a huge transition, and relearning or, you know, learning this new life with the new circumstance. It's
absolutely
just, and being able to truly connect with other people is really what fuels continuing on and like developing a whole new life around the new circumstance.
I think it's hard sometimes to even imagine that there's another way, or they're like, I can do this because it's a little thing, or I can stand that thing because it's a little thing. But what happens is those things keep coming around. Even if it's something in your mind, our thoughts go around and around. And so I love to do this exercise once every 6 months or so. And I call it, well, it's sometimes called the bitch list, but it's really about your tolerances. Right. Because what you tolerate is just you allowing something to persist in your life. And it could be something really tiny, like the door handle on the back door jiggles, and it jiggles every time, and I never, it takes 5 seconds to get out a screwdriver and fix it. Or there's a draft and I don't go to Lowe's and buy the strip, whatever it is in the house. It could be that, or it could be something in your business of, this is a tedious thing. It's anything. It could be huge. It could be your spouse is a bummer and it's never going to change, and you've done all the therapy.
Very nice way of putting that.
Not aligned with your highest mission, whatever, they're a bummer. You're a bummer. That's your problem. But and then you go get the therapy. But if you make a very full, unabridged list that no one will ever see of all your discontents, large and small, you look at what you've been tolerating. And then I like to divide it, in like the almost like a Dave Ramsey snowball thing where you're like, okay, first of all, one half is what is the stuff there is nothing that can be done about it. Not that I don't have the money, not that I don't know how, but there is no solution I can affect. I can't choose a different president right now, for example. That's going to go on the list of like, all right, I don't love it, but it's got to go on that can't do nothing about it list at the moment. Everything else that something could be done about, I just make this multiple. I'm like, okay, well, what can be calendared? Put everything on a calendar. Maybe one day you knock 10 easy things off. Your list shrinks pretty fast. And some things you need help. You need to hire a professional, or you need to save up money to repair the back patio, etc. Or to hire that new team member that's going to make all the difference in your business. You have to get there. But when I look at all the stuff that causes friction in my life, and this could help when someone's like, how would I use Kate? How would I use her business? What are the things causing friction in your life? And for a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with, they're like, I've tried to write a book. I have an outline and 2 shameful chapters incomplete on my, whatever business you're in, you're the solution to someone else's problem. So also remember that when you're out there selling yourself and feeling really cringy about it, you're somebody's like, thank God I found you, because they have this list of tolerances of things they can't stand, and you are the solution to the thing they need help with. So whatever business anybody is listening has, remember that. But it does help if you're looking at your life and looking at all the operations in your business to say, what's not going so well? What can actually be done about it? And then how do I put it on the calendar? So you check it off, and life happens. 6 months from now, you're going to need to do it again. But you're upgrading your life in pretty actionable ways, and not just kind of waiting for things to blow by you on a sweet breeze.
I don't know about you, but I am not a person that sits back and waits for things to happen. I'm like, no, I can fix this. I can fix it now.
I do maybe know that about you, Kate, which is why you're such a go-getter. But
I'm something. Some days are a little more adventurous than I should probably do, but that's fine.
There's something about that. All entrepreneurs, especially the women that I know, like there's a feistiness. There's a little sparkle in everybody's eye. You're like, you see them from across the room. Oh, you're in the tribe of the somewhat insane, but really excited to create
I do feel like you have to be a little unhinged to like start a business and keep it going. Is just like, you've got to be a little bit crazy. And
isn't it the best? Isn't it just kind of the best?
It is the best. So much freedom in owning a business. You can have so much freedom.
Untethered freedom.
Untethered freedom. So much freedom. So free.
Yeah.
Free. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Bearing It All, Michelle. Be sure to join us for future conversations and keep building those authentic, genuine connections with people that support you in being your true and full self in your business, your relationships, and your life.
That was so fun.